You know that sharp twist in your stomach when fate decides to get theatrical. When two worlds you swore were completely finished with each other suddenly collide under the open sky. That's exactly what happened the day my ex-husband saw me again for the first time in 3 years. There we were, walking barefoot on the beach, my new partner's hand warm in mine, the sunset glowing like melted copper across the water. When Alex's eyes met mine, his face drained of color. Not with jealousy, but with the kind of horror that freezes you where you stand. Because the man whose fingers were intertwined with mine wasn't just any boyfriend. He was Mark, the CEO who had personally signed the documents that had bankrupted Alex's company and erased the empire. He'd built around ego and ambition 6 months earlier. So if you've ever been told you're not enough, if you've ever been made to feel invisible next to someone chasing higher, faster, sheenier dreams, then lean closer. Because this story is your proof that sometimes karma arrives wearing designer sunglasses and an amused smile. The coastal air was crisp and clean that afternoon. Waves swept against the shore in steady rhythm, wrapping around our ankles as Mark and I wandered along the edge of the water. The light turned the ocean gold one moment and violet the next. My hair stuck slightly to my temples, and for once, I didn't care. After 3 years of healing, those quiet little miracles, ease, laughter, calm, had finally come back to me. I'd stopped rehearsing conversations with my ex in my head, stopped imagining what I'd say if I ever saw him again. I'd stopped trying to prove that I was worth keeping. Mark had entered my life near the end of that long climb back up from heartbreak. By the time we were on that beach, he had long since stopped being someone new and had become simply someone good, someone steady, who helped me believe in peace again. For the first time since my marriage had imploded, I felt whole, grounded, free. Then, as the tide rolled in, I noticed him. Standing near the boardwalk, gazing out toward the endless horizon like a man stranded between regret and disbelief. Alex. The sight of him didn't shatter me. It barely even interrupted my breathing. Seeing him was like recognizing an old photograph yellowed with time. Familiar once, but no longer personal. He looked thin in a way that didn't speak of fitness, but of stress. Even from a distance, you could tell his posture carried the invisible weight of something heavy. The bend that comes not from age, but from disappointment that never quite leaves. Then his eyes found me. The moment stretched, heavy and unreal. I saw it happen in real time. The recognition, the confusion, and then the dread. His body stiffened. His eyes dropped to where my hand rested easily in Mark's. He blinked once, twice, and the blood seemed to drain out of his face. His mouth opened like he was going to speak and then closed again. That flicker of panic told me everything. Something more than old emotion was working its way through him. Something about this encounter terrified him. And in that instant, I knew this was no ordinary awkward reunion. This was about to become the universe's idea of poetic symmetry. Let's rewind 3 years, to the night my marriage crumbled. Alex and I had been together for 5 years, married for almost 4. We lived in a modest little townhouse 2 blocks from a cafe we loved. We had a routine: Sunday brunches, movie nights, quiet evenings spent working side by side. I owned a boutique marketing consultancy, helping small local businesses find their voice online. I loved what I did, loved seeing my clients grow. Alex, meanwhile, worked in investment banking. He was ambitious, brilliant, and always hungry for more. More deals, more money, more recognition. I used to call him restless. He called it drive. The night everything ended, we were having dinner at home. The table was one we'd bought together from an antique sale, a piece of solid oak that had seen countless conversations and candlelit laughs. That night, though, the light from the single candle flickered like a warning. "I've been presented with an opportunity," Alex began, his tone stiff, almost businesslike. "A private equity venture. High risk, high reward. The kind of move that could change everything." "That's incredible," I said, smiling. He cut me off sharply. "Not we. Me." The silence hit harder than the words. He exhaled and kept talking, his eyes somewhere over my shoulder instead of on me. "The men I'm partnering with come from old money. They move in circles that require a certain presentation. And honestly, Sarah, You don't fit that image." At first, I thought he was joking, but he wasn't. He proceeded to dissect my entire life with the calm tone of a surgeon. My business, according to him, was cute. Too small, too local, too mom and pop. My world didn't match the sleek, high-stakes picture he wanted to present. He said he needed a wife who ran a tech startup, who sat on non-profit boards, who had reach. His pause afterward was deliberate. "You're not ambitious enough," he finally said, sealing the wound. I remember nodding numb, too shocked to cry as he explained the details of the divorce. He'd already hired a lawyer. I could have the house. He'd give me a modest settlement. He needed to be unencumbered, free to reinvent himself. His last words that evening branded themselves into my mind. "You're an anchor, Sarah, and I can't carry dead weight where I'm going." 6 weeks later, he was gone. Different city, new number, new life. Through scattered rumors, I heard he'd joined a high-profile venture and was rubbing shoulders with the elite. His new Instagram page, before he blocked me, was full of luxury cars, rooftop parties, a future he clearly believed I could never belong to. And there I was, standing alone in that same house, wondering if he'd been right. That first year nearly broke me. Pain has a strange way of burning everything in you until only willpower remains. I threw myself into my work, not chasing power but survival. Slowly, my business grew. I hired help, expanded my client list, learned that ambition could feel quiet and clean instead of loud and showy. When grief finally turned into resolve, I was ready to live again. That's when I met Mark. He appeared at a networking event I almost skipped. A tall man with kind eyes and a calm presence that barely fit the crowded room. We talked about everything from market trends to favorite seaside cafes. He listened, really listened, asking thoughtful questions about my company without once making me feel small for running it. I later found out he was the CEO of Titan Point Capital, one of the biggest investment firms in the country. But you'd never guess it from him. He wasn't flashy. He wasn't loud. He preferred stillness over spectacle. Where Alex had treated my ambition as a flaw, Mark admired it as part of me. By the time we started dating, I'd stopped measuring my worth by anyone else's yardstick. Mark and I built something real on top of mutual respect. So there we were on that beach, 3 years later, when Alex's ghost stumbled back into frame. Mark noticed my shoulders tighten and leaned closer. "You okay?" he asked gently. "That's him," I whispered. "That's Alex." For a heartbeat, I saw something cross Mark's face. Maybe recognition, maybe curiosity. But his tone stayed even. "Do you want to go?" I shook my head. My voice surprised even me with its steadiness. "No, I don't." By then Alex had started walking toward us, slow and uncertain. The waves hissed around his shoes. His face was pale, his eyes wide, his confidence gone. I could practically see the memories flickering behind his eyes as he looked at me and then at Mark. Piecing together the realization that hit him. The man beside me, the calm, kind one holding my hand, was the same CEO who had signed the very paperwork that sank his fortune. "Sarah," he said at last, his voice cracking in the middle of my name. "Alex." I kept my tone neutral. He swallowed, his gaze bouncing between us. You look good. Really good." "Thank you." The silence that followed stretched heavy between us, stuffed with 3 years of lost words neither of us truly needed anymore. Finally, he gestured awkwardly toward Mark, his mouth stumbling around the unfinished question. This is Mark," I said simply. "My boyfriend." Alex's Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed hard. "Nice to meet you," Hemanaged, extending a hand toward Mark. Mark shook it, his expression polite but cool. "Likewise." Something in Mark's voice made Alex pause. He was staring at Mark now, really looking at him. And I saw the exact moment recognition hit. His face went from pale to ashen. "Wait," Alex breathed. You're Mark Davidson, Titan Point Capital." "I am," Mark confirmed evenly. Alex's eyes went wide with something that looked like sheer panic. He took a step back, his hand dropping limply to his side. "You're the one who 6 months ago," Mark said quietly. "Yes." I looked between them, piecing it together, but needing confirmation. "Mark, Mark squeezed my hand gently before explaining. Alex's venture group came to us 18 months ago looking for a bridge investment. We did our due diligence and passed initially, but they were persistent. Eventually, we invested a small amount, more out of courtesy tune of the other partners than confidence in the model. The fundamentals were never sound. 6 months ago, we exercised our right to call the investment and liquidate the assets. The venture collapsed. Alex was shaking now, visibly trembling. You destroyed everything. You knew. You had to have known that calling that investment would crater the entire operation. We knew the operation was already unsustainable, Mark corrected. We simply stopped throwing good money after bad. I pulled my hand from Mark's and stepped toward Alex, watching him flinch as I approached. 3 years ago, he'd made me feel worthless. He'd called me an anchor dead weight, not ambitious enough. And now here he stood, broken by his own ambition, face to face with the life he'd thrown away. You left me because I wasn't good enough for your future, he said softly. The words came out measured, calm, devastating in their simplicity. You chased millions, Alex. You burned our marriage to the ground for this venture. You cut me out of your life so completely I might as well have never existed. And it all failed. Every single thing you sacrificed us for failed. Sarah, his voice broke. And the man I'm dating now, the man who makes me happier than I ever thought possible. He's the one who signed the paperwork that ended it all. That ended everything you left me for. A tear rolled down Alex's cheek. Just one, but it was enough. I hope it was worth it, I said. Then I turned back to Mark, slipped my hand into his, and we walked away. Behind us, I heard Alex make a sound. Something between a sob and a gasp, but I didn't look back. Sometimes the universe has a sense of poetry that no revenge fantasy could match. I didn't plan this. I didn't orchestrate it. I just lived my life, healed, and found someone who valued me. The rest, that was just karma doing its work. If this story resonated with you, drop a comment about your own experience with being underestimated. And remember, when someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next